all I can tell you is sit back and just let it happen. It's Carspiracy episode 5, baby. My name is Danny. I'm one half of Idiots versus Idiots. This is my show where I just riff about cars, car culture, car news, and the car business. Listen, I love it all. It's been a little while since I've cut a podcast, and there's a lot of different reasons for that. But effectively, I realized once a week was going to be too hard with my schedule. I have other businesses and other things going on. So I realized it was going to be a more occasional thing, and I try not to chain myself to something. But I'm not going to quit. We're going to keep doing these episodes because it's a lot of fun for me. So, historically I've done these podcasts. It's actually been all over the place. There hasn't been a firm format. Over on Idiots versus Idiots, we have the 4-story format, which I crafted, where we talk about 4 stories for an hour. In business news, and I tried to port that format over to Carspiracy, and it's still there. It's a loose framework for how I'm going to do things, but ultimately, today, I just wanted to riff on one thing, and that is my absolute favorite trend in automotive customizing. And before I get into that, let me just say this much about trends in automotive customizing and automotive customizing in general. Like, this is a passion. Right? Cars are a passion. And I'm not here, as we would say here in Texas, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. I said that phrase in the North, and somebody mistook it for being something, for there being some innuendo. But there is no innuendo. It just means if you find something yummy, I'm not here to say yuck to it. In a lot of car culture, people are like, oh, car culture is so toxic. No, it's not. It's internet car culture. It's just, we're talking crap, though. Here's the thing. Car culture is an inherently male-dominated thing, so naturally there's going to be some ball busting. And if there isn't ball busting, it stops being fun. Because I remember, I used to go to car stuff, and I would pull up in my 300ZX, my Z32, and a lot of the Mustang muscle car guys, or the older hot rod guys, as much as you would think they would talk crap about it, they didn't. They were like, oh, these things are really cool. Especially with the, when you get the Hikis and the twin turbo, it was so forward thinking. And they would tell me about, the original Zs and how cool those were. So as much as you think, especially down here in Texas, you might think, oh, the truck guys, they all love Fords. Yeah, Ford sells a lot of truck here, but a lot of these guys driving Toyotas and they like them. And a couple of guys bought the Nissan Cummins, which was a complete disaster, which I'll never talk about. But anyways, my favorite trend in automotive customizing, now I'm going to throw some shade on a couple of different, customizing communities. My favorite trend, though, is the safari car. And I refer to all of them as safari cars, and I actually own one. I actually built one, and it was going to be the kind of centerpiece of the Carspiracy universe. As car projects go, I got the project finished up and was like, I want to do something else. It's not that I don't love the car. It's just I picked the wrong platform to Safari. Now, what is a Safari car? Safari car is effectively, this is my definition, and this is Carspiracy. I'm the host. My name is Danny. So I don't really care about other people's definition of what a Safari car is. And some people call them gambler cars, and I'll get into that. But a Safari car is basically, in my view, a vehicle built in the style or theme of a Mad Max car, but basically a vehicle that's designed to be a vehicle that is customized to be more rugged and more off-roady than it was initially destined to be. So that is coupes and sedans, two-wheel drive, front or rear, doesn't really matter. But if you're lifting them and putting all-terrain tires or mud tires on them, I'll get into chassis swaps. To me, chassis swapping is kind of cheating, but at the same time, super logical. And I think, so here's where I think safari cars became popular and why I use the phrase safari car. There's this guy named Lee Keen, and you can actually watch a Business Insider video about Lee Keen and the Keen Project cars. But basically, this guy named Matt Farah is a car YouTuber who ordered a car from this guy named Lee Keen, and that's how Lee Keen ended up on my radar. And I'm not the center of the automotive universe here, but at the same time, I am the center of the Carspiracy universe. So Lee Keen and the Keen Project, they take 993 Porsches, and I might be getting some of this wrong. If you're coming to Carspiracy for a history lesson, you're a dum-dum. So they take these 993 Porsches, 911s, these, the last of the air-cooled Porsches, and I think their sticker on these things now is like $250 if you want one of these things built by Lee Keen. And the wait's 2 years. And but Matt Farah has one, and he goes on and on about how it's the exact perfect daily car for living in Los Angeles. And listen, in Austin, a lot of Texas is flat, but Austin does have hills. Like Central Texas is hill country, so this kind of thing makes sense to me, right? So essentially what they do is they were looking back at historical Porsches that were designed for rally, and they lift them and they put, like I said, all-terrain wheels and tires on them. And this has now become a theme. There's the dropped Alpha, which I think it was an Alpha or Fiat or something, some sort of car that these guys owned. They dropped it off of it got dropped off of, not like dropped it like Ricer drop, like it's not lowered. It fell off of a flatbed. And so they lifted that, and I think there's a Hoonigan video about it. But effectively, there's the Gambler 500, which is this off-road race. So Gambler is like in the theme of like a 24 hours of lemons, which the theory is just how do we make cars fun again, and how do we make it an inexpensive thing where it's fun to go out there and off-road, whatever. So people are building these extremely inexpensive, hacked together, like B is for Build, a YouTube channel, really popular guy. I think the guy's name's Chris. He built these super interesting, like, gambler cars. He had I think a Mercedes. Kanye West and Jay-Z had the music video with a cut-up Maybach. And he did that to an S500 or something. Anyways, the point is, as you're seeing on your screen, lifted sedans, wagons. Now, I do not, in coupes, I don't put the crossover utility vehicle in that category because that is already a road car pretending to be a rugged off-road car. Now, I'm not opposed to lifted RAV4s or CRVs. I think that's super cool. But to me, that isn't in the category of a safari car. To me, a safari car is something that is customized to be something, to live in a category it was never designed to live in. It was designed to be, there's the Camaro that was safaried by, I forget what company did that. It's called the Bootlegger Camaro. Obviously, I'm going to throw up pictures of all this stuff. All these other cars. But the reason I love this customizing trend, and I'm now going to throw shade on two communities. One community I don't have a beef with either of these communities, but one community I'm adjacent to. So like the slammed car, the slammed beyond drivability, cambered out, H2O. Right? Something you would see at the H2O car show, the super illegal show. And I think the illegal one is now in Ocean City, Maryland. And the legal one, the legitimate H2OI, is in, I forget what is that? Atlantic City, New Jersey. So, but that super slam, like Volkswagen, Audi style of like cambered out, that to me is stupid. You have removed all of the functionality out of the car. There's another one. And listen, I'm a ricer at heart. And when people used to call me a ricer, I was never offended by it. To this day, I am a rice boy at heart. That is who I am in my heart, which is, lowered Civic, D16, fart can. That is me to my core. Too big to fit in one, and I can take a Civic from lowered to stock height just by taking a seat. But that is who I am in my heart. But I still think the cambered out Civics and the cambered out anything is ugly. It's just, and you've removed all of the, there's no redeeming quality here, and you haven't given any additional function. So let's then contrast that with the squat truck scene. So the squat truck scene is so dumb. It's donking for white boys. Now, I know that donk is not the correct term. Donk refers to a specific generation of Impala. I know that information. Donk has just become the general term that whites and basically non-blacks and Hispanics use to refer to the high-riser community. And I don't have a beef with the high-riser community for one reason. If not for the high-riser boys, there would not be such a robust aftermarket support industry building lift kits for sedans. The Lifted brand, I use a 3-inch kit from Lifted brand for my Oldsmobile. And Lifted brand builds cars for, or not, sorry, they don't build cars. They build kits for the donk and high-riser style. And without them, there wouldn't be all this support. So I don't have a beef with them, but I personally, I get it. They're clean. I see a lot of donks, a lot of high-risers that are clean, right? And they clearly, the workmanship, second to none. Some of them. Some of them are hacked together like garbage. And that's stupid. Any car that you're customizing that's hacked together like garbage is stupid. But at the same time, I'm a ricer, and so part of me is like that hacking together stuff, that Haggard garage style. Yeah, I got a little, there's a place in my heart where that still makes me go, oh, that's cute. Like, oh. But still stupid. But there is a robust community of people building high risers, building donks that ultimately support safari cars because they create the suspensions that create that have lift kits. So I have no beef with them. It just ain't my deal. I think whenever you're talking about, it doesn't make the car faster, doesn't make the car, to me, it doesn't really look cool. Like 32s, like I get that there was a point where, oh, you only got dubs, you only got 20s. I get it. Like, dude, I got 22s. But now it's like, dude, we're talking about 32s? Come on. Like, you've robbed this vehicle of all of its functionality. It's scary to put on the highway. And I don't get that. And squat trucks are just donks for white boys. Now, I'm not here to make any sort of particularly race-related statement. This just happens to be who is participating in these two different automotive customizing styles. I don't have any beef with anybody. I'm just saying, over on the one side, the high risers, the demographics tend to be black and Hispanic people, and white boys with black or Hispanic girlfriends. They kind of be a little more hood white boys. And the squat trucks are, the Carolina squat. Some people call it the Cali lean. And listen, if it's a Cali lean and if it's a trophy truck and the whole reason it's squatted is because you're behind the truck, cool. It has a legitimate function, right? I got no beef with you then. But if it's strictly squatted so you can put 24-inch replica GMC Denali wheels on a square body, that's so stupid. Now, I say all of this to say I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, which again is to say if you're into high risers or squat trucks, God bless. Find your bliss. Live your dream. Live your best life now. Joel Osteen all the way, baby. I got no beef with that. Build that thing. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying I'm silently judging how stupid you are. Now, when it comes to, and listen, when I first set off on this journey to be a safari car guy, my buddy thought it was stupid. His shop ended up helping out finish the car up. A lot of people who I told this theory to were like, this sounds dumb. You're going to put 215-70R tires. Oh, I forget what kind of tires I have on there right now off the top of my head. They're Falcon Wild Peak ATS 3s. And I wanted to go with the 235-70, but I couldn't clear them on the strut, or the shock tower, whatever the heck that is. I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a guy who likes cars. But the 215-70 is the biggest we could get on there, according to the guys at Discount Tire. So I love the aesthetic. And the reason this is my absolute favorite automotive trend is because of how inexpensive it is to get into the hobby. Now, if you look at what I ended up spending on this particular build, I could have done it if I had gone with a different vehicle, because the Oldsmobile LSS that I purchased it's just one of those cars where I bought an Oldsmobile for one reason only. When my grandfather came to this country, and subsequently my dad, it's actually my grandfather who came to this country is my mom's dad, but the point is my dad ultimately. Oldsmobiles were still kind of aspirational, like it was better than a Chevy. So that's the kind of cars they had, and I wanted to have one. And I wanted one with the original, with the rectangular rocket logo, not the circular one, because I'm a particular butthurt like that. What can I say? I'm a logo butthurt. I wanted the one with the 2 car keys, so it has a specific door and trunk key. I wanted one with the metal belt buckles from the 80s era cars that I grew up being driven around and getting driven to the hospital and driven to school in, because I went to the hospital a lot because but I'm just saying that's what I wanted. I wanted to just have that little piece of nostalgia. And if I had gone with a Buick LeSabre, I could have built this car for $3,000 and had a fun car. So the lift kit was $200. The tires were $600. Used a stock 16-inch wheel. I could have gone to a salvage yard and found a 16-inch or 17-inch wheel with that bowl pattern, probably off of a Cadillac, which is, if I was to do a front-wheel drive car again, which I won't, that's what I would do. I would, if I was to do a front-wheel drive car again, a front-wheel drive American car, I would do probably a Chevy Impala, probably the first front-wheel drive generation Chevy Impala with a 3.8. Or I would go with the current Chevy Impala. Is actually probably a good option too. Avalons are the next option. Or a Buick LeSabre or Park Avenue, something like that. But the rack, I bought inexpensively from Harbor Freight. It's actually a decent rack. The lift kit, like I said, was cheap. So basically all I really did was a lift kit, tires, and a rack. And that it is the most fun you're going to have with a dumb front-wheel drive commuter car that doesn't horribly alter the general proposition of a stupid fuel economy, like forward car. Like, if you don't go too crazy on the tires, yeah, the rack kind of whistles when you drive it, but it's a fun car. And so the thing about, like I was saying, is the donk industry effectively sprouting support for this is Lift a brand will, I think, I can't speak for them, but they are from my former home state of Minnesota. They will effectively build you a 3-inch spacer kit for basically any front-wheel drive car. I don't know what their prices are. You got to talk to them, but that's what I understand from them anyways. If that's incorrect, you deal with your own thing. But I dealt with them directly, and I was actually in town and went up there, and I bought the kit off the guys myself. It was so awesome, dude. And, if I was to do another front-wheel drive car, like someone in my family has an Optima that they just, like a Key Optima, that they don't want anything to do with, I might go do that. I might go buy an Avalon. I might buy one of those front-wheel drive Continentals, the not the current gen, but the previous gen that was the front-wheel drive V8 with that Mustang V8 in it. Back when people were putting in the late 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s, when General Motors and Ford were putting front-wheel drive, like putting V8s in front-wheel drive cars. But the reason I think this trend is exciting to me is, first of all, it's inexpensive. It's an inexpensive way to get into the hobby of customizing cars or custom cars. It is an inexpensive way to enjoy a boring car. If you have, and this is like my personal opinion, if you take an Avalon or a Chevy Impala or something that you use to commute every day, and you put a 3-inch lift spacer, set of spacers in it. I have 1-inch wheel spacers on my car just because I was unhappy with the size of tire I was able to fit without rubbing. And it does rub a little bit when you make sharp turns, but otherwise it's not really a big deal. Now, I like I said, I think it's an easy way to take like a boring car and make it interesting. Now we're living in the Dos Equis post Dos Equis world, the pandy world where people aren't commuting. So you got to maybe you don't need a daily driver anymore, right? Maybe you got your tuner car, you have your project car, and you don't need to drive anywhere, so you don't really need a daily. But in a world where people still have to drive to their office, or in a world where you just want to have a reliable, relatively fuel-conscious vehicle, putting an inexpensive spacer kit, finding the right tires, like people are still buying old original, the small Ford Rangers and stuff. So like it's not impossible to find mud terrain tires or all-terrain tires that fit smaller wheels or what have you. And if you're handy with the steel, if you know what I mean, if you can, you can get in there with a Sawzall, do a little bit of cutting. If you trust yourself and do a little clearance work, you can probably put a decent tire on. And it's a fun trend. Now, are you going to go Baja this car? Probably not, right? But it's an easy way for the car guy to make a car that expresses something. And listen, if you live up in the north, if you live in snow country, and SUVs are $1 million right now, trucks are $1 million, used trucks, there's a shortage on new vehicles, so used SUVs and used trucks, because of the shortage, are now expensive. And you want something that's going to be kind of more effective in the snow. Just go buy a stupid 3800, any 3800 GM product, right? Whether it's an Impala or a Buick or something like that. And you can go get these lift spacers. You can get a 5-inch. I think that they do make 5-inch lifts. You can do all sorts of crazy stuff without needing to mostly bolt on, right? And I will say this much for the GM products. You're going to want to buy, they're called camber bolts. They help release some of the camber from lifting the vehicle. But the point is, it is an inexpensive way to build a fun vehicle. Now, this one here is up on Doug DeMuro's website, CARSPIRACY. This is a Buick Roadmaster wagon. I think this is super cool. I think what's that guy's name? Dax Shepard. Dax Shepard is an actor, podcaster, but also a prolific, from Detroit car guy. And the thing I love about Dax Shepard is he built a ridiculous Buick Roadmaster. And all I can think is if someone took that level of attention to detail and then built a Safari Buick Roadmaster estate, how cool would that be? What if, and so the possibilities are now endless. And of course they do. And I'm personally going to build another Safari car. I'm looking at moving to another place. And my whole thing is I'm going to build a Safari car because the place I'm going has, well-renowned poor roads, but also there's going to be some tax issues bringing a car into that place. So I am all in on the Safari car trend. This is my favorite, like I said, my absolute favorite trend in the automotive customizing scene. And it's relatively, I believe, easy to get in if you have any mechanical skills at all, which I do not have, which I don't pretend to have. It's easy to get into the hobby because it's inexpensive. So I bought all the parts and brought it to my mechanic. I was like, these all just bolt in. And my mechanic is a wonderful guy. And he was like, it's kind of rough. He did say it was hard, but the point is it worked. Bolted all in, right? So super neat. I got no beef with it. I love it. So anyways, I just wanted to rant on this subject. I think these are super cool. And, I think that there is a sincere place in all of our lives where we can build and drive cool cars on a daily basis. Because if you just don't go crazy trying to tune the engine, you can actually build a reliable, daily, boring sedan out of, by safaring it. It'd be super cool. I call them safari cars. I don't know, some people call them gambler cars. I did have a website that was coming out dedicated to them. I don't know what the state of that is. It still might come out. We'll see. Anyways, This has been Danny of Carspiracy and the Idiotverse. I just want to thank you for listening to this podcast about safari cars. Tune in to our next episode. I think I'm going to talk about, the next 2 episodes, I'm going to talk about the Renault-Nissan Alliance, and I'm going to talk about the future of cars and how it could be stupid because of electric cars. Anyways, this has been Danny Carspiracy, Idiot Universe. We'll see you later.